Hello, everybody, and welcome to Have a Chat. Nice to have you join us today. I'm your host for this show, Judy Loge, joined by my beautiful co-star, Veronique Arsenault. Hello, Veronique.
Hello, Judy. So glad to be here with you again.
Yes, and it's April, and we're so happy about that. I just want to wish my sister, Colleen, a very, very happy birthday. She's an amazing girl and celebrating another year younger. And she's one of my biggest cheerleaders and supporters. And she's one of yours too. So Colleen, you're a beautiful
Love her.
sister. I'm blessed to have you in my life. And cheers to a wonderful, blessed year ahead.
Yeah, just absolutely love Colleen. She is such an incredible human being. So wishing her a very happy birthday.
She's very sweet. Now, I got to pop this back in. Okay, Veronique, what did you choose for the quote this week? I'm always curious when somebody's picked one other than myself to hear the thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. And this one is actually by a very famous athlete, Michael Jordan. I just love everything about him. He's a real philanthropist. He gives back. He does so much for his communities. But I love this quote because it spoke to me for a lot of reasons. So I'll share it and then we can chit chat. So he says, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and miss. I've failed over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed."
And has he ever succeeded, right? I mean, many say he's the best, he's retired now, but the most fantastic NBA player of all times. And I probably have heard my kids say that time and time again because they both love the game. They both have dabbled at basketball. It's great. He's certainly super achieved. I think his net worth is something like 2.1 billion right now, if not rising. And he's a father of 5 children, a beloved husband. He's got it all. And yet he got it all through effort and hard work and trial, like you said, trial and error and doing it again and never giving up. That's the bottom line. You cannot get it to the top if you're going to cave every time you lose.
Well, and I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is that, sometimes what happens, and it's really easy for it to happen to us because, we don't succeed. We fail at something or we're not good at something and we think, well, there's no point. I'm not good at it. I may as well just give up or move on. And there is a time when you have to make that decision to move on from something. But, but also you learn something. You have to remember that you learn something every time you're not successful at something or that you fail at something because you learn how to do it a little bit better next time or how to do it a little bit differently or to change something. So I love that because I think, to be at that level in his career and to do all of the amazing things that he's done, he must, he must always be at the top of his game. He must always be successful. He must always be making that shot. But in actual fact, he says, there are times when it just doesn't happen and you got to pick yourself up and keep going.
Yeah. I'm just always amazed, on the topic of basketball at the heights of these men. I can't even imagine being some of their heights. We were in Miami. I think I talked on the show about this a couple of years back. Just before COVID, we were in Miami. We were boarding the airplane, and we were coming to where you have to, go under put your stuff on the belt and put it through. And we were not wanting to stare, but Taco Fall was a player for the University of Central Florida at the time. And Taco Fall now plays with Cleveland. But Veronique, I was so you don't want to stare. You're taught not to stare. But for the sake of repeating my story, he's 7'6". And it shocked me. I've never seen anybody that tall in my entire life. And I think, there are some that are even a little bit taller. Maybe he's one of the tallest, but and then Isaiah Thomas is only 5'9", and he's a little firecracker too. And he's an NBA star. So they come in all shapes and sizes, but I think I'd rather be on the shorter side in life than the taller side. I would not want to be that tall. Gigantic, basically.
Well, and it's funny because I'm only 5'6" myself. So I don't, I to be that tall, I just can't even imagine, but I'm always fascinated by, how people see the world. Right. And so from my 5'6" size frame, you see it one way, and then people who are, a lot of people are taller than I am. Most people are taller than I am. I'm always amazed, and especially people who have like a significant height advantage, like basketball players. But even my dad's 6'3", and I know your dad's real tall too. So it's amazing what genetics do.
Oh, I know. And you and I are average. So with some heels on, I think just the right height myself. I'm happy with my height.
That's right.
Mary, you had a lovely event take place on the weekend, this past weekend. So tell us a little bit about that dress up affair.
Yeah, you know what? It was so strange to be out again at a gala event. It's not, obviously in the last 2.5 years, I have not been to anything like that, but it was really interesting to get dressed up again and put on a pair of heels that I haven't worn in 2 years, and, put on pantyhose and all those kinds of things. But it all happened actually because the New Brunswick Aviation Museum Dreams of Flight Gala was in Moncton, and they had it in Moncton for a few reasons. So the museum is slated to be built here in Miramichi, which is very exciting, and it's going to honor the history of our Golden Hawks and aviation in general here in Miramichi and across the province. But it'll be located here. So they had a fundraising gala in Moncton at the Delta Beau Séjour, and it was amazing. They had Lucien, the comedian, had part of the show there, and then the cadets were there as well. The lieutenant governor was in attendance, and the minister for military affairs. I'm not sure that that's the title, but anyway, she gave an incredible speech about her connection to the military through her family. So really quite an evening. I went with my parents. Of course, my father was in the Air Force, and so it was really important for us to be able to attend something like that to honor that history. The city of Miramichi also had a table there, so I got to attend with our mayor, Adam Lorton, and fellow councillor Ryan Summers. So and his incredible wife Heidi. And so it was wonderful. It was beautiful to see people dressed up. There were people there from the Miramichi that attended, and who have been a great support to the museum and its development. Kevin Anderson is the executive director, and an incredible amount of work that he's done. Carol Alderdice is their new board chair.
Yes, to feel socially alive again. It's been so long, and we just hope for more of that. We just have to keep things under control. I know the numbers are growing again. It's alarming, but it is what it is. We just can only protect ourselves and those that we love the best that we can. I was kind of saddened. I'm glad you had something fun to talk about, because I was really saddened to hear that Bruce Willis, who is one of my favorite male actors, is battling a medical disease, which is aphasia. And it's a pretty gruesome one, that one. Actually, it affects about 1 in 250 in the United States. So that's even more prevalent than Parkinson's numbers. And he's only 67 years old. And he's given so much to the movie scene and family. He has 3 beautiful daughters with Demi Moore, his first wife. And now he has 2 little girls, I think aged 10 and 8, with the former supermodel Emma Hemming. And aphasia is so bad in that it affects your cognitive disability, and that it impairs your ability to speak and read and write. And so he's had to step down from his acting career. And 67, the older I get, the younger 67 seems to be. And I've met Bruce Willis, and I've chatted with him, and he's just a really nice guy. And he's done some beautiful, decades and decades of television and movies. And so I was really saddened to hear that. There's always something in the news that makes you feel bad.
Yeah. Well, and I love him too. I love his movies. I love his acting. And I remember the story about when you met him, and always have a little chuckle about that one. But you know what? I just love his acting. The movie Red and Red 2, just I still will watch it on repeat whenever possible. Yeah. So I was quite saddened myself to hear about his diagnosis, and I think particularly someone who has been who has used his gifts so well, to see those now being taken away is a tough thing to navigate, and so I wish him all the best, absolutely. And
Yeah.
yeah, all of those that are struggling as well. But it's sad to hear that
Hmm.
diagnosis for him.
Hmm. You know, another actor that's stepping away from it all, Veronique. He's doing his sequel right now, Sonic 2. Is Jim Carrey. He's going to hang up his hat unless something really grabs him in the way of a very appealing script. He's just said, and I thought it was such a powerful statement to make. He said, "I've done enough. I have enough. I am enough." And did that ever sum it up, right? He has been another legendary actor, comedian. You know, that he's so funny and he's so talented. He's not everybody's cup of tea, nor am I, nor is, anybody everybody's cup of tea. But, he's gifted. There's no question about it. And he suffers depression. And I admire him for his battle with depression and trying to fight through it like Robin Williams and come out as a comedian. And just, but I loved how he's ending it, getting the job done, finishing the movie, and then I have enough. I've done enough. I am enough. Period. Beautiful.
Isn't that amazing? And he another gifted actor. There's no question. And you know what? His comedy isn't everybody's comedy, but not nobody's is,
No.
right? I mean, everybody has their own
No.
their own supports. But he has so publicly navigated through his depression and how he treats that and all that. So he's been a real advocate for mental health awareness and mental health
Yes.
improvement. So good for him, and good for him for deciding that it was enough and that he was enough.
Yeah. And he's enough. Did you take any of the Grammy Awards on Sunday night? I didn't. I Googled some highlights. They're not my big thing because it's honoring and recognizing those in the music industry in the US, right? And I traveled to the US a lot, like over the years of my life, but I'm not into that so much now. The music, especially that they're playing and what's in vogue, I guess, musically. Did you take in any of it?
Well, funny enough, I understand why all of those old people sounded like when I was young, and and they were like, oh, that music these days, and those kids, oh my God, they're listening to terrible music. Oddly enough, I've now hit that stage in life where I'm like, oh my gosh, is that a song now? How is that a song now?
I know.
So I didn't watch the Grammys. I don't tend to
No.
watch the Grammys. I am in awe of their talent, no question.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I'm an old lady, and not a lot of the music is my cup of tea anymore. And I don't
No.
even recognize people. I don't recognize their names. I don't recognize their
No.
music. A few things here and there pop up, especially if they've done a remix
Yep.
with an old song. But I mean, I love looking at the fashion and all of that. But no,
Mm-hmm.
I can't say that I took it in yesterday.
Well, I was embarrassed. The winner of the album of the year was Jean Batiste. I've never even heard tell of him. Okay, that's really bad. He
I
I know who
understand.
Billie Eilish is, and she was going in as one of the possible
Yes.
contenders. And there was another woman they thought was going to sweep up on the awards, Olivia Rodriguez, maybe. I'm so bad with these people because they're not my cup of tea. Like I said, I don't listen to them. But John Batiste to an album of the year, and I don't even know. Apparently, though, he sings a song called "We Are." And the Music Academy really loves people that sing spiritually uplifting, united songs as we are all one. And I am all about that as well. So I think it was just that it grabbed them in the right way, maybe for the times that we're in, and that it reached a lot of people, and it definitely reached a lot of hearts, that song. I do know that, but I'm not familiar with them at all. I thought some of the evening attire was gorgeous, but I thought some of it was horrendous. I'm sorry, but Justin Bieber wore a suit that was probably 5 times too big. I don't get it. I know he can do anything. He's Justin Bieber, but he's so handsome, right? And he's the kind of the it guy. So to wear a suit that was what would have fit 5 people, and to have like the pink toque on, I thought, well, he's making a statement, all right, but it's just, I guess it is what it is. And these people, and I think I hate to say it because I'm very modern in my way of fashion thinking. But the thing to me about the breasts hanging out, I mean, you shouldn't have to hide them, but when they're barely like you're afraid they're going to flop out on the camera, that's another story. Like, yes, it's a gift from God to have a beautiful bosom or whatever. They're gifts, period. I guess they feed children. But to put them out there with barely anything covering them, to me is just, I'm sorry. I guess I am kind of old fashioned in that respect. But it's been too much of that, too much. I
Well,
don't
and
like it.
it's funny because one of the few pictures I did see was the picture of Justin Bieber in his suit, and
Mm,
yeah,
mm,
I mean,
mm.
it didn't float my boat. Absolutely,
No.
I just wanted to put him in a pair of pants that fit him, but
Hmm.
or a jacket, that fit him. But it's interesting what attracts. But then I think of like some of the rap stars, from years ago, or even Britney Spears, and I can't remember her name
Yeah.
right now, but it's anyway, she had the seashell covering, her bosom, and then
Hmm.
half a top, and like it seems to be the Grammys, seems to be where the girls come out. We'll call them the girls at
I
this
know. I
point, in the
know.
bosoms,
Yeah.
where they seem to make
Yeah.
an appearance. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
I mean,
They are.
I like to leave a little to the imagination, but I'm also not
Hmm.
gifted in that area, so
No.
I wouldn't put them on display anyway.
They should just be calling it all the Golden Globes, right? Very neat.
That's right.
Um, but I was going to ask you, are you not kind of shocked? I know what's going on around the world, obviously, and it's so heavy we don't have time to get into it before we go to our break and then bring back our wonderful guests. But are you not shocked? I was going to say with the world crisis and the warfare by the inflation. Like when you go to the pump up your tank and go for groceries. I came out with a little bag of groceries the other day, and I mean, seriously, I thought there was nothing to even sneeze at. Like there wasn't much meat product, there wasn't much expensive things at all. All that $154, and I could have carried it in with my two little hands. Yeah,
You know what, and it is shocking, and I mean, I think COVID has obviously had an impact, and the war. I mean, $8 for a pound of butter just nearly blew me away, and right now gas
oh,
is $1.81, and I'm like, thank goodness I'm not
mm-hmm.
going anywhere because I can't afford to fill the
Yeah.
tank.
Yeah, I know. And the only place we're going right now is to break. And then we're going to come back with our wonderful guest. I've been really chasing this guy as far as being a guest on TV goes for probably the better part of 2.5 years or more. He's an insanely busy guy. And I always love to have a first time guest on. We have repeat guests, but I think it's time we've had this new face on. So if anyone's looking for that little drink of water, a run to the washroom, or just a little snack, as you say, Veronique, now's the time to grab a cracker or grab a little granola bar or whatever and come right back to join Veronique and I for more Have a Chat. Hello, if you're just joining us for Have a Chat, welcome back again. I'm your host for today's show, Judy Loge, joined by my dazzling co-host, Veronique Arsenault. And we are so pleased to finally be able to get John Schenkels on here as a guest. John is a farmer extraordinaire of Schenkels Farm. He's an acquaintance of mine. His sister's a good friend of mine, and the family's well known in this area and beyond. So he's an entrepreneur, but above all that, he's just a great guy. John, tell us a bit about yourself personally.
Well, yeah. So I've been farming for quite a while. I've been my family grew up in I grew up in Miramichi. My parents actually came from Holland in 1959. I grew up with five sisters, two brothers. Uh, all grew up in Canada in Miramichi. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only one that came back to farm. So we grew up on a dairy farm, and I came back to farm. All the other siblings have different professions. So I've been married for about 20 years. I have a wonderful wife, Tamara, and I have four kids and four grandkids.
Oh, you do. Now I feel really old.
Yeah. I
Grandchildren.
won't disclose
Okay.
my age.
Amazing. That keeps you
Wow.
busy. All of that keeps you busy. Then on top of that, you are an actual full-time farmer, which is an incredible thing. So tell us a little bit about how you got started or I guess how your family got started in the farming business.
Yeah. So my father, I think, was the main driver behind farming. He grew up on a small farm in Holland, but wanted to do something more. And he moved here in 1959 and basically settled in Boys Town and moved a few years later into Red Bank, where my family grew up. So he started farming with one gal, and we've grown over the years since then. And right now we have, roughly speaking, about 950 to 1,000 head that we look after every day at a number of different farms in the area.
That's
So
incredible.
it's grown quite a bit in the over those years, and hard to imagine that we've done that, but it's yeah, it's quite a when we think about it, it seems very big for us as well. So
It's gigantic. It's incredible. And I
yeah,
guess you were kind of answering my question as far, as how you've grown in the number. But let's just talk about the expansion in general. So, you got your cattle. Like, how does this all unfold? Like, tell us about a farm
yeah,
life, and because I don't know anything about it, John. I don't know that the viewers might or might not, but I do not know how it works. Then you get one cow, and then you have more cows, and you have different places where you house them. And tell us how you've grown. In what ways?
yeah. So yeah, let's start back a little bit. So my father started in Boys Town with the one cow, and then had a chance to move to Miramichi in I think the 60s, where he started with about 20 Jersey cows at that time. He had
Mm-hmm.
that farm grew over the time, and we were replaced with Holstein cows, which are the black and white ones that everybody is quite familiar with. From there, we grew at that location to probably about 70 cows milking, about 150 head in total. Uh, and that would have been when I kind of decided to come home from the farm. At that time, we had bought another farm in Whitney, which is just 10 kilometers away. And we built a new barn at that location and expanded over that. Well, I guess it's a period of almost 25 to 30 years now at this
Mm-hmm.
location to grow to 200 cows. And recently we partnered with another farm family in Salisbury to start a 350 cow farm that has robots that actually milk the cows at that location. So as the technology advanced over the years, it allowed us to have more cows and to milk them. So yeah, you seem to attract each other. So as it gets easier, we just add a few more cows and a few more cows, and over the I guess the 50 years that 60 years we're talking about, it's grown to quite an operation for sure.
It's absolutely fascinating to me, how you can grow and everything that you've done. But not only are you farming and you have all of those cows, but you're also thriving in the blueberry business. How did that become a thing, and how is it going?
Yeah, so blueberries, I guess my background, so when I went to study, I studied in agriculture at university, and a lot of my background was in plant science. So we were looking at where, what crops to grow. And uh, as we started looking for new crops to grow and to expand, not only with the cows, but with the land base as well, we were kind of intrigued by the blueberry industry and what it has, and looking at all the health benefits that we have in the wild blueberry industry.
Mm-hmm.
So we farm
Mm-hmm.
400 acres of wild blueberries. Um, you may not know it, but we talk about Nova Scotia being the blueberry capital, but the Acadian Peninsula and northeastern New Brunswick is very big in blueberries. It's got over the last 30 years, our acreage has expanded rapidly. So we used to produce maybe 15
Mm-hmm.
million pounds of berries in New Brunswick every year, and now we produce, as an industry, we produce somewhere around 60 to 70 million pounds of berries every year. Our farm in particular, we produce somewhere between a half a million and a million pounds of those berries. So on the 400 acres. So
Oh my gosh.
yes,
That's
I'm just so
stunning.
excited and proud to hear all of this.
yep,
One of our own Miramichi is doing this
yep,
amazing stuff. It's just phenomenal. And I
yeah. So
can't
they're
even imagine. Yeah, go ahead, John.
yeah. So the blueberries, the blueberries are, if we follow that along, the blueberries really leave here and they go all over the world. So our blueberries would end up in places like Japan and Europe, China, Australia. Um, we've also, we had a partner, we were drying blueberries as well, and we're selling blueberry powder and dried
Mhm.
fruit for granola bars and for all health teas, things like that. So we're working with a company a family company like ourselves that does that.
Mhm.
So it's really interesting to see where that goes, that export business. Milk is stayed pretty close to home. We produce it within Canada, and we're work
Mhm.
within a management system that allows us to sell within Canada. But blueberries is totally opposite of that, where they go all over the world. You may not know it, but the
And
wild blueberry is only produced in eastern North America. So Maine, Maritime provinces, and Quebec are the only places that's really commercially grown. So, and the demand for them, for
okay.
their
Wow.
health benefits is very strong.
I
Oh,
had
I
no
know.
idea.
I hear about
Truly.
blueberries being like a superfood. It's wonderful, wonderful.
Yeah.
John, I can't even imagine how your work week begins. And of course, you have employees. You might want to talk to us about how many you employ with your business, all total, and also just the general run of the mill from like a Monday to Friday. What your duties are. Just take a day out of there, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, so we don't ever really have a run of the mill day, we find, but we do have a very tight schedule. So cows are milked. So yeah, if we take the new location where we have robots, the cows are being milked all the time. So cow can go in and get fed, and if if the if the computer says that she should be milked at that time, it'll determine how much milk she should have produced and whether she should be milked or whether
Mm.
she should go out and rest for a little while longer before she gets milked. So it'll do that for us, but it runs 24/7. Um, but people are around the farm. Usually we start around 5 a.m. on both locations. So we have one farm in Whitney that has 200 cows. The other farm has 350 cows. But we start feeding them at 5 a.m. Uh, at my location where I work with the 200 cows, we have one guy that starts milking cows at 5 a.m. He milks till about 9 a.m. to harvest all the milk, and then it will milk them again 12 hours later at 5 p.m. 4:30 to 5 p.m. where they for the second time. So we want to
Mhm.
do that at least twice. Some farmers will do that 3 times a day, and the robots on average will milk a cow about 3 times a day as well. So that's the optimal time, so that the
Mhm.
most milk can be harvested and keep the cow as healthy as possible at the same time. So the benefits work both
Mhm.
ways there. And then we have to take care of all the new calves that come. We will have on average a new calf, yeah, at least one a day, sometimes two a day, up to.
Oh
So
my.
we want to. So someone has to take care of the newborn calves and make sure that they're healthy, make sure that they're fed and taken care of. We have to look after the mother, of course, at that time. That's a transition time that we have to make sure that we spend some extra attention with those cows.
Mhm.
And then we
Mhm.
have to do all the cleaning, any cleaning or anything that has to be done. So that's the typical regular stuff. The
Yeah.
routines,
Mhm.
we have a number of all the equipment has to be maintained and as well. So we have a group of in Whitney, we have a group of about 5 full-time guys, and then we employ anywhere from 4 to 6 students that do some nighttime milking for us.
Mm.
Now the
Mm.
robot facility that we have, which has more cows, but actually has less people there. So um, because that milking is done automatically, it allows the farmers, in a sense, to spend a little more time with their cows, so they have more time to spend out amongst the cows. There's
Mhm.
about 4 of them there, so we have about half as much labor at that barn, but all those people will be spent looking after, making sure cows are okay.
But
Yeah.
and the blueberry too, like the blueberry, you have the same amount of employees, like picking and containing
So
them and
for
all of
yeah,
that's another huge endeavor.
yeah, so we're about to go into our springtime. May 1st, the snow is all gone. We usually use that as a date where we start getting out in the fields. So we farm about 2,500 acres worth of ground. So there's a lot of we have to harvest. Not our crew is so some of our crew that is in the barn will go out in the field, and we'll have some more people that help us out with tractor work and those kind of things. But we have to. So we start with planting all our crops for the season, anything that we're going to grow for our cows. We have to make sure all our grassland gets fertilized, make sure our blueberries are fertilized, make sure, and our blueberries, about the 1st of June, they start to flower. So we have to get bees out. So we would have roughly 1,000 hives that go onto the property. So 1,000 beehives come in from all over Eastern Canada, as far away as Ontario at times to pollinate the blueberry crop. Because if we don't have a bee that visits the flower, we don't have a berry. So we spend time getting those into the field and then back out of the field when the flowering period's over. And then blueberries we start picking usually around mid-August. So that's about a 3-week, 10-day to 2-week season kind of, and we're picking berries. And then we'll go into harvesting some of the crops that we planted in the spring as well. So we'll grow a lot of corn for our cows. Cows eat a lot of corn, both the whole plant and the grain as well. So we spend the time harvesting that and all the grass that we need to feed the cows. So that's basically a full-time summer job for people, for sure.
It's shocking how much is done.
Yeah, you know what? I keep shaking my head and I keep saying it's amazing because I think for most of us, we absolutely have no idea how much work goes into farming and how diversified it is. When you think of like a dairy farm or whatever, you just think, well, it's a bunch of cows and out you go to milk them and that's it. But it's fascinating, everything that you're describing, and it's so educational. But you took over the farm from your parents, and so it continued to be a family business. And so are your kids involved? Do you do that as a family, and what's that like?
So right now, my kids are at an age where they're going to either finishing high school or going to college. So we have people that are interested. I have nephews that have some interest in it as well. I have one nephew that's working full time with me now. So I haven't asked what all their ambitions are, but succession is in there as well. So we do have to plan for whether they want to do and what their desires are. So we did spend 30 years doing kind of what I want, but we definitely need to be looking at what they would want to do in the future. 3 of them are attending agricultural college in Truro in the fall, the Dalhousie campus. So all 3 of them will actually be there next fall, but they'll have to decide what they want to be doing over the next few years. And, the farm business, to find the people that are engaged in farming now, it's a very, it's not easy work, and it's technical, it's demanding. So to find the people that want to farm as well it always becomes a challenge, and we want to nurture that and make that rewarding work as well. So, and that's part of the reason for expanding and growing with the technology and everything, that to make it interesting and to keep it challenging as we move forward.
Well, you're certainly keeping it challenging. I don't even know how you get it. I don't know how you do it all. Absolutely, even with all of that help you have. And I think it's so beautiful that your family, your wife and children are involved, and that you do employ summer students and kids at night to take on, you're giving employment to other people. It's all, win-win, John. And we do have to go to break, but we hope that people will stay tuned for more conversation with you and the life of running such an incredible thing as a dairy farm and a blueberry farm and all that it provides. I'm so happy that we can benefit from your products locally. Like, I like to look at my fridge and see all that's there from what you've produced. So please do not go far, ladies and gentlemen, and youth, if you're watching or have a chat, because we are going to be very soon back again with our guest, John Schenkels. Hello. If you are just tuning in, we are so happy to have with us our guest today, John Schenkels. We've been having a great conversation about his dairy farm and blueberry farm and how vastly it's grown and how successful he's been. And he's living in the Red Bank, the Whitney area, I guess, to be more specific. And again, Veronique and I are just, taken with all this information, not knowing a whole lot about the farming life. John, just to start this next segment off, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Dalhousie's, the University of Faculty for Agriculture, and all that entails. For example, how long is the program once you're enrolled, and what the opportunities may be that follow once you've obtained your degree in that.
Yeah, okay. So maybe a little bit of history about Dalhousie. It used to be known as the Nova Scotia Agricultural College. It's been around for, I think it's 1905, so that would be 115 years or so. So that was originally started to train farmers, and people in the agricultural industry to bring technology into it, and it's grown and expanded over the years. I attended there and took basically a Bachelor of Science degree but studying specifically in agriculture, and more specifically for myself in plant science. There's a number of different programs that are offered at Dalhousie. So it was the main focus there is to train people in the agricultural industry. So you have technical courses that deal with like agricultural mechanization, stuff like dairy farming specifically, horticulture, lots of horticultural crops as well. So there's a range there. And then there's degree programs, of course, that give you a Bachelor of Science degree in things like economics, in animal science. It trains people in the pre-veterinary course so they could go on to UPI for the veterinary medicine if they so choose. So there's a number of different courses with a number of different outcomes to them, I guess, to say, depending on what your interest in agriculture is, of course.
It's great that they offer that there. I wouldn't know a lot about that program, not having children that ventured into that, but I know I do hear really good things about it. So we encourage anyone.
It's a bit of a hub for people in the agricultural industry as well. So a lot of the research that gets done is done at that location. A lot of the technical information that farmers are looking for comes through there as well. So and people coming out of that or out of that college over the years, because it is a separate faculty and it is in Truro and not Halifax. So people coming out of that location are focused on agriculture. So you meet them not only in farming, but in all the support industries that lead into it, the feed companies, the seed companies. A lot of the banks will employ people coming out of that industry because they understand agriculture a little better, so that they can work with the firms in those specialized areas. So there's a wide range of outcomes there as well.
Yeah,
that makes sense. You touched on it a little bit in the last segment, but so much of your product stays here in Canada, and you get to work with different partners, and then your blueberries head overseas. But talk to us a little bit about that supply chain through Northumberland Dairy, and also how it works for your blueberries and that process and that channel that they go through.
Yeah, so if I could focus on milk, I guess first, maybe we produce, between the two farms, we produce about 20,000 liters of milk every day. So we actually put all farmers in New Brunswick and right through from Newfoundland to Ontario, our milk is all pooled together, and we sell to different dairies depending on what supply is needed. So we're very focused on producing enough for the market, but not so much that it affects our pricing. There's no use for it. So a lot of milk so we produce things like cheese, milk, butter, cream, yogurts. There's many different dairy products that goes in and used in a lot of different foods. So our milk, when it leaves here, we get picked up with a number of different farmers in the local area. lots of times to our cooperative. So our cooperative is not only Northumberland, which is our brand that you see in New Brunswick, but the bigger organization is AgriPure Cooperative. So you'll see some of the names on milk trucks that go by in the area. So AgriPure is a group of 3,300 farmers that own the dairies, a number of different dairies in Quebec and the Maritimes as well. So when you go to Nova Scotia, you may see the farmers brand that would be owned by this group of farmers as well. So that was a decision. So originally, our farm was a Northumberland member, and we were our own separate co-op. But over the years, our business gets more and more challenging, and the business, as those businesses, the same way our farm grew, those businesses grew as well. And we felt that it was important. I think it was about 8 years ago now. We joined forces with the AgriPure, which is a bigger cooperative. So we were a group of 70. Well, we had 300 members, but about 20 farmers. So we, in essence, we felt like we joined forces with the bigger cooperative so that we could market our milk throughout the Canada as well as just New Brunswick. So now most of our milk would end up in Northumberland, where we're produced into most of the brands you see, and in whole milk that's on your shelf, as well as butter that's made there as well. Sometimes it would go to Sussex, which is Dairy Town, which is also part of the bigger cooperative and has its own local history to it as well. So we'd make a number of different products there as well, and that gets moved across Canada into the markets as we go. So Northumberland, the plant itself produces milk for all of New Brunswick. They do some other packaging for other dairies as needed, so it becomes a very streamlined business. But we're definitely proud that the plant has stayed in Miramichi and that it's still focused on all dairy.
Oh, well,
Absolutely.
I think yes. So it's really, really great to hear all of this. And I support your company, by the way. I support it all. You look at my fridge, you'll see it all. John, I was sitting there watching TV one night on CTV, and there was you, the movie star, with your family doing a commercial. So you've broken into another industry now, too, being on film. Tell us a little bit about that fun part about being hauled in to do a commercial.
Yeah, well, that goes back a few years now, but that was definitely a fun field. So we wanted to feel that we were still very local. So they wanted to introduce
Hmm.
farm families to everybody,
Hmm.
much the way your show is doing it now. So it feels good to
Yeah.
know that people are interested as to where their food comes from. And
Yeah.
so we had a good time. The family had a good time learning about the making of that TV commercial and how it all works and how we all fit into and what we're supposed to be doing. So it was a day
Yeah.
spent on the farm with a production company that made that commercial, and it was quite interesting and quite fun for everybody involved at that point. So
And it's very catchy, very vibrant. I absolutely loved it. And I was saying, woohoo, that's just great. One of our local guys and his family on there and doing such great things. So kudos to you for that. Great.
yeah,
Another accomplishment.
yeah,
Yeah.
and we're very fortunate that we have such a great consumer base that supports a local industry, and
Mm.
it's been
Yes, yes.
more and more people are interested in where food comes from, and it's very nice that
Hmm.
people are taking initiative to learn about how food is produced, and who we are as farmers, and what we're all about as well. It's important.
Absolutely. Very. Yeah.
Um, John, with everything that you've got going on and with your wonderful family, how do you maintain a work-life balance? I can't even imagine how you manage to do that, but how do you fit it all in?
Yeah. So I'm going to answer this, and Tamara my wife may have another answer for you and
Yeah.
say that's not accurate, but and it is challenging. There's no doubt about it. We start at 5 a.m. and sometimes cows come first. So if a cow is not feeling good or needs attention, we have to drop what we're doing. It doesn't matter what we were doing with family, and tend to that, because it's important that they stay healthy as well. So it's about finding the right people to help you, and try to, schedule everything accordingly. Try to get some schedule for time off. Um, but it is always a challenge, and we definitely, we take our jobs very seriously, but we're fortunate that our family can kind of work with us, and we're close to our
Yeah.
work in a way as well, so we can find times in between sometimes to connect, which is important as well. So, and the balance, there is it is nice that you can work with your kids, work with your wife, work with your parents. There's something rewarding about that not every person gets to experience. And as farm families, I think we're very fortunate that we can
Oh,
involve everybody as we're growing up.
yeah, it's
Beautiful.
beautiful. John, when you're looking at such, a huge number of cattle, like you named how many, it's mind blowing. But how often would you come across medical issues with your cows, and trips to the vet, that kind of thing? Because that's they're animals, and everyone has their ailments, including these precious animals. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as far as there's no trips to the vet, we bring our vets in. So we have a number of different vets that
Mm.
help us out. I have some family members that are vets that help me as well. Um,
Oh,
but we taking care of those cows that are not feeling well. That's a daily chore in a sense. So you're always
mm,
being aware of things that could go wrong. So we have
yeah.
protocols in place that we want to make sure that that's all looked after. Now, in the last 5 years, that's become quite a bit easier. So we've got, with the new things in technology, we can monitor a cow. You're aware that a cow chews her cud. Everybody's kind of seen that. But we have a tag on their neck now that can count how many minutes that cow is chewing her cud. And a healthy cow
Mm,
will chew it for a certain number of minutes a day. When she starts slowing down, if she stops that, we're paying attention,
mm,
because that cow, for some reason, isn't feeling all herself. She'll stop moving
okay.
around. So that same tag measures how far she's walked. So those kind of things that we use on our
Mm,
Apple Watch, we put on a cow, and we're paying attention to
yeah.
that cow. And that gets sent right to your phone now. So if you're not paying attention, no worries. The phone will alert you that you've got some problems, and you'll go out and
Hmm.
have a look at that cow and tend to her. So, that may be as simple as, checking her temperature and making sure that she's eating well. So, uh, those kind of things, come into play as in every day. So that's one of the daily routines that we do have to pay attention to. And when
Before, be,
farmers are looking at their phones, we're not usually on Instagram. We're looking at our app to see what our cows are doing and how well they're doing.
yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
before I
the
jump
robotic one.
to
So I can sit
Veronique's,
here.
oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Oh, go
I can
ahead.
sit here in Whitney, and the cows that are 200 kilometers away, I can now pick out all the cows that would need attention every day. So it's been quite interesting how fast the technology is moving in the farming industry as well. So to keep
It
up with
is.
everything, and it
John,
allows us to
uh,
get it.
I was just going to ask you, I was curious before I jump to Veronique, what's the lifespan of a cow? Like general year
So
of life?
a cow will normally reach maturity. So it should be full grown at about a 2-year old. So the cows, when a calf is born, it will take us 2 years before we start milking that cow. So that cow will milk, on average, they'll milk another 4 years.
Hmm.
It depends a little bit on whether they stay healthy, whether how much milk they produce, those kind of things. Um, some will go to 12, 10 or 12 years, and some will be a
Okay.
little bit less, right? So
Okay.
it all, but on average, we will keep replacing about 25% of our herd every year to
Okay.
maintain it.
I'm amazed at how technology has, become a part of what you do. But I wanted to circle back just for a second to a little bit of the distribution around the blueberries. So we know that you send them over seeds for the most part. But how does that all happen? What kind of companies do you partner with there?
Yeah, so so blueberries will be picked, in mid-August is when they're all ripe. Our wild blueberries in general, some get sold in a fresh state, but the overwhelming majority of them will all be frozen. So there's plants that take those berries. We'll pick them all, and we'll try to get them to a freezing plant within 5 to 6 hours, so that we can get them all frozen quickly, so that we can preserve all the health benefits of them. So those ones will be all packaged and frozen at that time. After that, they'll be sorted and made sure that everything is and graded, so that certain berries will go to certain customers, depending on whether they're making jam or whether they're selling them as whole blueberries, whether they're and where they go. So they're sold in that manner. We sell the powdered ones that we partner with. Our company would be a small company called Van Dyke's Blueberries. So they package juice as well as dried product. So we put berries through there as well, so that they can dry them and ship them over the world. It's a growing market in the blueberries as well.
So, John, I guess we're just about to end our show, but before we go, how has the pandemic affected you? Has it been okay, or largely disrupted your whole farming enterprise?
Yeah. So the pandemic has been uh, both good and bad. People have been staying home and drinking lots of milk and dairy products, but we've had lots of challenges with it as well. There's supplies. When you talk about supply chains, we've seen lots of different things that are affecting us. We're concerned going forward that things are going to be okay, but we're confident that we'll get through all this next year or so, and things may settle down, and hopefully
Mm-hmm.
we'll be all back to normal, and meeting in person and things like that. So it's
That's right.
we're definitely looking forward to it. So
And as we are. John, you've been an amazingly interesting guest, and congratulations on all of your success, on your father's success before you, and your family business, and everything you're bringing to all of your consumers. I really commend you on all the hard work, and continue on. Keep on growing and growing, and we'll keep on picking those blueberries, or eating those blueberries and drinking that milk. So thanks again. And to all of our viewers, we will see you next week. Thank you to John Schenkels, Veronique, my co-host, and Roger Studio for having a chat once again. Have a great week.